Welcome to Mindfully Augmented, where we talk about living with intention in a world that is shaped by technology. I'm A.
And I'm B, and this episode is brought to you by the Hierarchy of Needs app, available on the App Store. The Hierarchy of Needs app is everywhere you need to be. That's all I got. That's I was trying something new.
That's good. I mean, this is a space for it.
Yeah.
Today's episode, we're going to be talking about designing empathetic AI companions.
Okay, so what does that mean to you?
That's actually a very interesting question because I had some disagreements on LinkedIn about how we are using the term emotional intelligence and we are applying that to a technology that cannot feel. Mm-hmm. Some people even deem it fake. So with that, I just want to shift things a little bit, that it's all about the perspective, right? Mm-hmm. It's about how you're feeling, how this technology makes you feel, and if it promotes healthy behaviors or it helps you regulate negative behaviors. It's how the technology helps you grow.
Yeah, so
that I deem that emotional intelligence, because ultimately it's about how it affects us and not so much what it can do on its own.
Mm-hmm. So it feels like when people are focusing on the term emotional intelligence, they're focusing on what it means
to be a human.
What it means to be a human, where it feels like your approach to this, and something that I feel like I've started to adopt, is it's not so much about the human, but more about the outcome of the system.
Yes.
So is it an emotionally intelligent system? Yes. Are we creating the space in which we can actually be emotionally intelligent, as opposed to focusing on, is the individual emotionally intelligent?
And I want to add one more thing to that as we dive deep in this, is that we as a society, we're not making space for emotionally intelligent outcomes or the space that it needs to grow.
Mm-hmm. Could you give an example of that?
Absolutely. Productivity. Mm-hmm. You enter the workspace and you become literally a non-stop robot trying to make money for other people, where even asking for PTO because you're having some mental health issues can get you fired. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So advocating for yourself, like making space, the things that we need for humans are thriving, at least from what I've experienced in corporate America, it's not there yet.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it seems, the system, because it's so focused on productivity, that ultimately the outcome is going to be primarily productivity and not necessarily prosperity for individuals. And so how do you feel like things could shift? What do you feel like AI is going to be crucial in that shift towards emotional intelligence?
And maybe we need to find another word to coin what the result or the outcome is. I think it's going to be crucial in developing awareness, our self-awareness. And I'm talking from a human perspective. Developing awareness, being able to advocate for yourself, being able to have the information readily available so you can advocate for yourself. Because sometimes you're entering spaces where you do not know whether it's the law or the I don't know, anything that, like the culture of the place that you're entering, that you are at a disadvantage. So promoting growth, awareness, and also actionable steps that you can take towards actually becoming, I don't want to say a happier human, but overall a well-rounded, more content human that is actually thriving. I don't think we are thriving at the moment. I think we are spreading ourselves so thin, and we've lost contact with the things that actually gives us joy. And sometimes we don't even have the space. And I've experienced this firsthand, and how that impacted my family. That not having space for the things that are so elemental and crucial to our well-being, how devastating it can be. So I feel like this access to this technology will help us set better ground rules to what it means to be human.
So kind of giving people the environment where they can grow, giving them the environment where they can play with their emotions, giving them
Yes.
to practice and be in scenarios where if they did fail, it's not the end of the world.
No.
It's not at the it doesn't result in somebody else having to pay the price for their emotional lack of emotional development.
Yeah.
Which I feel like it's really important. We as parents find ourselves constantly in situations where our kids are still developing, and that I find as a parent. I even find areas where I'm like, oh, I haven't fully developed in that
You
spot.
gotta put yourself in check.
Yeah. Like, oh wow, they found a sore spot, and I got to step up, and and reflect on those things, and I would find it beneficial to have something that gave me the ability to practice, but not in a way that feels. Not the word's not arbitrary, but not in a way that feels like I had to I had to actively go like, all right, today I'm going to work on emotional development, because that's just not for many people. We don't necessarily all have this like gym mentality where it's like, in this part of myself I'm going to go work on right now. Where I feel like what's more natural is that I have a relationship in which I can practice that, and I feel safe enough to be vulnerable and practice developing my emotional intelligence. And I want that interwoven into my life and the things that I'm already doing, which is kind of similar to how I want to exercise anyway, where I'm less about going to the gym and I'm more about bringing elements into my life. I'm a playful guy. I like to play with things. I might or might not have gotten a pogo stick recently. I like to play with things. We have the proof. And yeah, that's how I want to bring it into my life. So, trying to find some access point for me and others to develop their emotional intelligence, I think is very important to the development of it. And I think that is what AI allows us for, is a way that we can actually integrate the practice into our lives in a way that it's not necessarily just like it's not an institutionalized focus at it, but it's more just in like allowing you to habitualize the practice of a play, emotional play.
I like that, emotional play. I think play is at your core, and it's something that you are deeply connected with, and you see the benefits, and also how much as a society, as adults, we stop playing, and how it would be very beneficial if we could start bringing it back, whatever that means to us. So with our definitions and the importance of what we identify here, when we are designing this empathetic AI companions, what would you say are the key components that you are focusing on when you are designing and building and coding?
Okay, so that's a great question, and there's so
Multiple
many ways.
questions in there.
So many ways to approach that. So when we're thinking about design, first of all, most AI interfaces, they're disembodied voices or they're chatbots. And I thought it was very important that for accessibility reasons first, that we need to make sure that there's as many ways of interacting with the AI as possible. And even if we couldn't, in the very first iterations of our approach, make it accessible to everyone, we at least built the foundation so that it can continue to grow in ways that it becomes a lot more accessible. And a big portion of that is in making it embodied, like in a physical presence.
For people who do not know what embodied AI is?
So disembodied means that there is no visual representation for the AI, and embodied means that when you are interacting with the AI, it's not just through voice or through audio, but there's actually something that you can see, and there's visual communication. So humans, for the sight enabled the sight enabled humans, we communicate a lot through visual cues.
100%. Yes.
And I mean, even just talking with our hands, there's so much research that like how much speaking with your hands communicates. And right now, a lot of computers and computer interfaces really focus on audio and text input and output.
But there are some companions out there.
There are some companions out there. And now they're making them so, yeah, you can interact with them, you can talk to them, and you can see them emote back.
Yes.
And I think this is really, really important. However, I've found that most of the companions that I've seen, they're kind of stopping at the escapism level of things. Like, they're not, they're giving an access point for your emotional unloading or
Okay.
your life unloading.
Like that release.
An emotional release,
Yeah.
and trying to build this connection. But there's very much a fantasy built around everything that they're engaging with. Like they're from fantastic worlds. They're fantastic creatures. They're talking animals. And while this is that's I think that's completely fine. However, it's not necessarily building the tools for a healthy relationship. It's not necessarily building the tools or giving you access for how do I reciprocate as a human being. So, so that's a one-way relationship, and ultimately, I think most research about healthy relationships would argue that it has to be reciprocal for it to be a healthy relationship. In some way, there needs to be a back and forth, and so designing for AI and an emotionally intelligent AI system, that was another consideration. It's like, how do we make this something that you don't own? As consumers, we're so used to owning everything that's on our phone and ultimately owning anything that's digital, that I felt like this was a really difficult hurdle that we needed to start to work towards shifting around. And so part of that was not just designing something that you could visually engage with, but that you could also, the structure of the system that it existed within, it moved away from a sense of ownership.
That is very profound, because we are, and myself included, we move from a space of this is mine, that's yours. This is mine, don't come over here. This is my space, this is my family, these are my kids. So
yeah, it's difficult to work through because culturally we've we've just kind of internalized ownership.
Yes.
Culturally, we've adopted a system that is built on an emotionally unintelligent foundation, because it requires, especially if you're speaking from a capitalist perspective.
I was going to say consumerism.
Consumerism, it's built on to some extent exploitation.
Yeah.
Exploitation of each other. And I'm not to say that everybody involved in the system, because obviously we're involved in the system, understands or are consciously doing that. And I'm also not saying that the people who invented the systems or have been building upon the systems had that in the back of their mind, and were working towards that intentionally. But if you're to judge a system by what it outputs, if you judge what a system actually is and does by what it outputs, it's clearly reducing the emotional intelligence. Our system of commerce is clearly reducing our capacity for empathy for each other. And if you are to just take that at face value, it means that the system isn't working towards the types of humans that we want to be. So to actually confront that means that we need to start working towards parallel systems that allow us to become the types of people that we want, which means that we need to create emotionally intelligent systems, or systems that produce an emotionally intelligent output, which would be hopefully us.
Us, yeah. I cannot think of a better mission to be working on.
I agree. I'm happy that we're on this journey, and there's I have a lot of gratitude towards you, because you kind of opened my eyes in ways that I didn't even. I mean, while I might have been emotionally intelligent in some areas, obviously it's a spectrum. And in some areas were really good, but other areas I never had to practice. I never had to open up or recognize or question myself. And with you, I got to see the value of another perspective when it came to emotional intelligence. And so as I've developed that, I got to see not just the value in it for myself, but the need for it to be, I think, more broadly communicated and nurtured in our culture and what it is that we create and what it is that we do. So it's been a very interesting journey, and I'm happy to be on it with you.
Me too. Me too. I think I'm looking forward to seeing what our companion is going to become and how much it can actually help people get to a better place. And I cannot wait to have my heart full when seeing like what you work for is actually paying off, because it's actually helping, truly helping. And this is not just to be philanthropic, but just seeing how if people are doing better, we're all doing better.
Yeah. Yeah, it really, for me, it's really kind of a very selfish thing.
Yeah, I was waiting for
bring in the word. It's very selfish. Like if you're smart and selfish, you will recognize that your capacity is limited by your environment. So if you really want more, then you want everyone else around you to have more so that you can also have more. And so if I want to have the heights, emotional heights of everything that's possible, then I need to raise all ships. And so I think that's really what we're working towards. And speaking of the companion, we haven't really taken the time to dive deep into our companion. So I think an upcoming episode will have to really focus on that. What do you think?
Very shortly. I would love it, because I have a lot to say about that.
Excellent.
Thank you for joining us today. This episode has been brought to you by Hierarchy of Needs, available in the App Store. If you're interested in learning more about our companion and how to improve your life through the Hierarchy of Needs, well, now you have an app. Go check it out.
Excellent. Until next time.